pastors' kids, but they're out there trying to make money and at any cost. And they've allowed themselves to get entangled in the treasures of putting their treasures in money and not in the Lord or in heavenly things. And they've gotten caught up in the music industry, in the secular realm, doing whatever they can to make money, not thinking about their life in God. You see, there's something about music, and we talk about it, and you hear it from time to time. If you've been here the past few years, there's from time to time that the Holy Ghost lead me to talk about music, because many times people don't realize the detriment of music, the wrong kind of music. Many times people think all music is fine, but not all music is fine. There's some music that were created to edify the devil, and because it was created to edify the devil, it cannot edify God. Because the origination of that music stick with the originator and the purpose of that originator. So when they originated the music, if the purpose was not to edify God, then God cannot and will not get glory from that kind of music. That's why in biblical times, God, he told the Israelite, he said, I want you to come out from among these heathen nations that are around you. He said, I don't want you to have any dealings with them, because what they do are not what I want you doing, and the God that they worship is not me, and if you hang around them, they're going to turn your heart from me. And then there were times when God sent a word and he told his people to go and destroy, just as in the days of Joshua. And he sent them to go and destroy. And even in the days of Saul, when they went and destroyed certain nations, and God says, I don't want you to bring any of that stuff back here. He said, I want you to destroy everything that they have. Don't bring anything back here, because I'm not going to accept it, because they have already profaned my name with these things, because they worship the other God that is not me. And he said, anything that comes from the world, God said, then I cannot use it. And so many times we find that in our day and time, where people are in the church are trying to take things from the world and bring it to the church and make God accept it. But God is not going to accept the things that does not glorify him, that he does not get glory from. Anything that glorified the devil, God said, I don't want it, because it was for him, not for me. And then God rejects it, just as when the Israelite, as I started saying a few moments ago, during the time of Joshua, when they came and they went and defeated Jericho. And then Achan went and brought back some of the stuff from Jericho. Many times they were allowed in certain times to bring back certain things and spoils of the people that they destroyed. But God said, I don't want this kind of stuff. Don't bring it back. And they brought it back to the camp. And as long as it was in the camp, God says, I'm not going to be with you, Israel. And so Israel was defeated by a very small country called Ai, all because they brought back these things. And Achan hid it because he didn't want anybody to know that he brought it with him. But God said, I've rejected it. I don't want it. He said, I will not stand for it. And as long as you have it, I'm not going to receive you and it either. So then we cannot take things from the world and try to make God accept it, and try to make God want it, and try to make God receive the glory from it. Because if it gave the devil glory, then God says, I don't want anything to do with it. The same way Kirk Franklin for years have went and grabbed, he was probably the pioneer of trying to bridge gospel and hip hop together, which it cannot coexist and give God glory, that is, because it was not originated in the church. It was not originated, that kind of music was not originated to give God glory. So then God says, I cannot accept it. He came up with Stomp and Who Do You Want a Revolution and all this kind of stuff. And before we know it, the church was hopping and jumping on it, not realizing that God says, I don't want the stuff that came from the world. God said, I don't want it. It does not give me glory, because it gave the devil glory originally. And God says, I don't want any second-handed worship. God said, I don't want any second-handed praise. Can you imagine how you and I would feel if your child went and gave someone else your gift, gave someone else a gift, and then came back and gave it to you? But you say, but it wasn't for me originally, I don't want it now. You bought it for somebody else, don't come and give it to me now, because it was not in your heart to give it to me originally, so I don't want it now. And that's the thing we must understand with music. We cannot allow music to come into the church, the foul music that did not originate with God and to give God glory, and expect God to accept it. Because we're living in a time now where music is starting to take over everything. You can hardly watch a commercial that doesn't have music today. Because the enemy knows that the music that is being played, if you allow your ears to become a listener of that music, you are saying in essence, I'm in agreement with it and I'm going along with it, and you've accepting that music, so then you become a partaker of the music. And if you are a partaker of it, then you cannot be giving God glory, because you're doing something that God did not give you commandment to do, and that is to worship, to give worship to an idol, which is the devil or anything else other than him. That music gives worship to the devil if it was originated outside of the church. That's why that music is not innocent. There's always something the devil have up his sleeve when it comes to God. He's always trying to compete for worship. The devil is always trying to compete for souls, because he wants to outdo God, even though he should know that he'll never outdo God. So what happened is, he came up with, many years ago, it's been around so many years, he came up with R&B. A lot of people of color like the R&B, the soul music. It makes people feel sensual. And so they didn't realize that R&B essentially is just there to stir up lust. That's the real reason and purpose, the devil's purpose of R&B. And many people, when they want to get close to someone, they like to put on some R&B, because they don't understand that, yes, it put them in the mood, but it was meant to stir up lust. That's what the devil allowed this music to come about for. Then many years ago, they came up with the pop music, which promotes carefree living. Do what you want to do whatever feels good, it's fine, just do it. Then years ago, they came up with the rock music, which promotes anything that says you can do. You need to say what you want to say, do what you want to do. And they came up with the slang rock stars. Everybody wanted to be a rock star back in the day. Then, lo and behold, along with that came heavy metal, and everybody knows heavy metal is satanic music. That was the purpose, and it still is today. Marilyn Manson and all of these groups came along, and that was their purpose, to generate this kind of music that does not give God's glory. And then, lo and behold, the devil looked across the board and said, all of these genres of music, there's others, jazz and so forth, but all of these genres of music have their own particular group that relates to it. And the devil said, I don't want just a particular group to relate to a certain type of music, but I want the whole conglomerate of people. I want a music that would draw everybody to me, that they'll give me worship. Even the CEOs would be able to dance off of this kind of music. Even those highly sophisticated people would get a beat off of this kind of music, and they'll give me worship. The ghetto people from the hood would give me worship. Every race under the sun, every nationality, the Asians, the Africans, the Europeans, the Australians, the South Americans, the North Americans, every nationality of people will be able to relate to this kind of music. That's the kind of music I want. And he came with hip hop. The one form of music that crossed every boundary of genre that there've ever been. Even the music that couldn't reach, certain people would not have fallen for heavy metal. Heavy metal could only reach certain people that was into satanic worship. Rock could only reach certain people. Pop could only reach certain people. R&B and soul could only reach certain people. So the devil said, I got a master plan. I come up with hip hop.